Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good late evening for those connecting far away. My name is Laura Ochoa. I'm the early years expert, in-house expert at the Leer Foundation, and I'm going to be your host today for the launch of Harnessing Technology, a review of digital tools supporting parents and the early years workforce. We're very excited to have you all here today and share the conclusions, the results of this long learning journey with all of you today. A few logistics before we start with the content. Please share in the chat where you come from, where you're connecting from, your name, your organization. We want to know who is connecting to the meeting in itself. This is not a webinar, it's just a Zoom meeting, so we will see who is with us today. So please feel free to share a little bit more on who you are. We would like to have a flavor of who is joining our discussion today. Finally, for information of everyone, we are recording the session for dissemination and learning purposes. So it is important for you to know that you're being recorded. For our Portuguese speakers and in general connecting to the call, we have already simultaneous translation available. Please let us know if there is any problems with it. It is already functioning and at this minute. So without further ado, I'm gonna now explain a little bit more about the agenda today. We're still having some people being admitted, so I'm giving like 1 or 2 minutes before we start with the content. But I think we are right now at 95 participants, so I'm gonna go ahead and share more about our very exciting agenda surrounding the study that we have today. First, a little bit about the Bernard von Leer Foundation for those who do not know us. We are a foundation that for many decades have dedicated ourselves to work in the early childhood development space. Our mission is to contribute to inclusive societies where all children and communities can flourish. We do that working a lot on making sure that all children have a good start in life and caring for their well-being and the well-being of their parents and other caregivers present in their life. Today, we're going to specifically be exploring the potential of digital tools in supporting parents, caregivers, or extended families and early childhood workforce of young children in promoting early childhood development of young children 0 to 5. The session is structured in 3 parts. So the first part, we're going to hear from our knowledge partner, Results for Development, Ms. Shreya Prakash and Ms. Michelle Newman. They're both going to be sharing in detail the findings, the recommendations, and the methodology of the study itself. Then we're going to move to a second section of the agenda today. That is going to be a panel discussion where we're going to hear for 3 out of the 23 tools and 23 developers we work with during this journey. We're going to hear from 3 specifically on their insights and practices on specific components. So Ms. Farah Akil from Queen Rania Foundation in Jordan will share with us about the parent education program and their focus on monitoring and evaluation. She's the monitoring and evaluation specialist at the Queen Rania Foundation. Then we're going to hear from Dr. Nokolo Gara from the portfolio lead on Rich Digital Health, and Ms. Jane Sebidi, Deputy Director of the South African National Department of Health and Mom Connect Manager. They're both going to be sharing their journey on Mom Connect and the partnership they have between themselves, government and the developer. And finally, then we're going to hear from Ana Amelia Prevata and Leila Saaita. They are both product managers at Descubrir Brincando, and they're going to share with us more about Jopi or Jornada Online Primera Infancia, which is a tool targeting the training of early childhood development workforce in Brazil. And they're going to focus their presentation on engagements, user engagement strategies when working with digital tools. Each panelist will have around 5 to 7 minutes, and then we enter into the third section of the session, which is going to be a Q&A session. We are going to pick up questions from you, the audience, that we hope you share with us in the chat. And we're going to be addressing the 3 panelists and results for development on some of the questions regarding the study and the field in general as such. This will, we will close. I will close very briefly at the end. As a way to introduce our first presentation, I want to share a little bit more why we from the Bernard Leer Foundation wanted to actually work on this topic in general, and why we pair up with results for development. So to set up the stage for this first presentation, we want to introduce what were the 3 main guiding questions, what we wanted to learn as a foundation working in this space, supporting some of these tools, learning from this journey on this particular topic. So first, we wanted to understand, and we know that from COVID-19, many digital tools emerge in the ECD space, either to support parents' learning journeys and teaching in the home, or to connect them to services more appropriately, etc. Some of them survive after COVID and are still here, and some of them didn't. We wanted also to understand, when we say digital tools to support parents and caregivers and the ECD workforce, what do we mean by that? What are the different type of technologies that are there, that are digital, that are doing that job of bridging and supporting parents? Is it an app? Is it a video? Is it an SMS? What are the different possibilities? And we wanted to understand better that ecosystem. The second question we wanted to address with the study: what are the key objectives that these tools are pursuing in the ECD space? And how, what features do they have? How they're trying to achieve those purposes that each one of these programs have. And thirdly, the third question is then, what are some of the common practices that are emerging, especially in 3 areas: in the design of digital interventions or digital tools, paired with programs or standalone, in implementation of these tools and expansion of the reach and content, and then on monitoring and evaluation and learning in general. We wanted to understand what was happening. As a result, you see that we have a knowledge package that is going to be the study. It's also the study is going to summarizing the findings of these tools, and it's going to also provide and offer recommendations for different stakeholders in the ecosystem, whether governments, funders, or developers themselves. And it also is offering, the study offers a database, a very detailed and rich database on how each developer and tool is responding to these questions. It's very detailed profiles. And with that, I want to thank all of the developers that participated in the study. Some of them are here today. Without you, we couldn't have been sharing all this rich knowledge. So without further ado, I want to introduce you Shreya Prakash from Results from Development. The floor is yours to start. Or Michelle, I don't know if you're going to be the one starting with the first presentation.
Thank you, Laura. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, can you please confirm you can see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. We're excited to be here to present our study. And over the next few minutes, we're going to talk through the methodology, share a snapshot of the online resources that you've developed, and also present some findings and recommendations from the study. So to begin with, a quick background, which Laura already set the stage for. Digital tools have become increasingly prevalent in supporting early childhood development globally, and have the potential to reach a wider audience, improve access to services, and also complement and reduce the burden of labor and resource-intensive parenting programs. So with this in mind, our team undertook a global landscape analysis of digital tools to support early childhood development, with a specific focus on tools that support parents, caregivers, and the early childhood workforce, especially in low and middle income countries. The objective of the study was to answer 3 key research questions that Laura already mentioned in her introduction and are also on the screen right now. Before we proceed to talking more about the study, we'd like to clarify that when we say tools, we are essentially talking about a range of different digitally enabled approaches, which include things like mobile apps, text-based chatbots, text-based messaging services that use platforms like SMS and WhatsApp, and or also audio and video assisted tools like automated phone calls, telephone counseling, to name a few. So with that background, I'm going to briefly talk through the process we employed to complete the study. And the first step here was to identify and develop a representative shortlist of tools for the study. We did this through a desk review of existing literature and also posted an open call across various ECD platforms, including Bernard Van Leer's partner networks. And through this process, we identified more than 100 tools. These tools were then screened and shortlisted based on predetermined inclusion criteria, such as whether they are currently in use, the data available, the target audience they reach, among others. We also paid particular attention to tools which had a focus on reaching vulnerable populations and also had potential for scale. In the final shortlist of 23 tools, efforts were also made to ensure that the shortlist reflects a diversity in ECD focus area, active regions, and the type of technology used, among others. Once we had the shortlist, the next step was to really deep dive and gather more information on the things like the objectives, user engagement strategies, dissemination strategies, and their partnerships, among others. We undertook a more detailed desk review through sources like the tool's websites, reports, blogs, and also conducted key informant interviews with tool developers to fill research gaps and gather more information on the tool's success factors, challenges, lessons learned along the way. In addition to this, we also conducted a literature review to understand the broader landscape on the use of digital tools in early childhood development, and also consulted with experts such as program managers, investors, and researchers to understand the current state of the field. I'm now going to talk a little more and present the newly developed resources. So like Laura mentioned, our team developed 2 key knowledge products. The first being an interactive and filterable database of 23 digital tools along with their detailed tool profiles. And the second being a short synthesis report that highlights the key trends, success factors, and challenges of digital tools for early childhood. In addition to this, the report is also accompanied by 4 thematic case studies on themes including partnerships, monitoring and evaluation, cultural adaptation, and user engagement that further elucidates the findings. And before we move on to showcasing what these products and outputs do look like, I would like to call out and acknowledge and thank the wonderful team at Wolf and Clear for all their excellent web design and development support. So once you get to the link where the report is hosted, you will see that the report is designed to be a scrollable web page. And on top, there are links to the different sections of the report. You will also find an option to download a PDF version of the report if you'd prefer to read it that way. Another thing we've done is to link all the various products we've developed. So on top of the page in that little black box, you will also find links to the tool database and the case studies. Now, once you can use the links to navigate the report and move to different sections, or you can also scroll through it. And as you do that, you will find that a small menu appears on the right-hand side of the page, which can help you easily navigate through different sections of the report. Again, in an attempt to link all the different components and products you've developed, across the report, you will find links to the different tool profiles and case studies as and when they're referenced. The next product was a tools database, and this, as you can see, is an interactive and filterable database. There are around 14 filters on this page, which include things like the ECD focus area, age, active regions, languages, to name a few. This database has links to all of the developed tool profiles. And similar to the report page, you will see the little black box on the top, which can link you to the other products that are developed as part of the study. Now, each of the filters, like I mentioned, are expandable. So when you click on the little plus icon on the right-hand side of the filter, you will see all the options under that given filter. An interesting feature here, which you'll also see across the different tool profiles you've developed, is the little information or I symbol. And this symbol, if you hover over it, will provide you a description of how we've defined some of the filter options. You can also select the filter options based on your interests, and what the database will then do is provide a list of the specific profiles that match those search criteria. And once you click on one of the links that turn up in the search criteria, you will find a more detailed tool profile. And this tool profile has a headline, the tool's website, and where available, a video that talks about the tool. There's also an overview about the tool, as well as more detailed description about its various features and services offered. In addition to this, the profile also highlights the tool's reach, including the number of users, languages, active regions, how it's disseminated, among others. And there's also a section on the technology required to access the tool, such as the device and connectivity requirements, as well as information on the cost model. Finally, you will also find information on how the tool monitors and evaluates progress, as well as the partnerships that support the tool. And where available, there are also screen grabs or pictures of the tool in use, as well as contact details for further information. The site also provides suggestions for similar tools that may be of interest based on the selected criteria that you may have searched for. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Michelle, to present some of the findings and recommendations from the study.
Thanks so much, Shreya. I hope everyone that we've piqued your interest in checking out the site and the tools and the database. Now it's my pleasure to present some of the key themes that emerged from our research. So that includes our analysis of the tools, our desk review, and our many conversations with experts and tool developers. Next slide. So there are 7 findings that are highlighted in the report. The first is the importance of designing for and with the end users. We need to build tools that really reflect an understanding of parents and worker characteristics, but their needs and preferences, and so that the content is appropriate and accessible. Second, we need to understand that we need to meet users where they are with technology. So the technology needs to be familiar to parents and workers and recognize that they may be in remote settings, they may be in humanitarian settings. And so we need to understand what type of technology is available to them, as well as what do they use on a more regular basis. Third, it's important to leverage innovative approaches to keep users engaged. So we found that developers use a wide range of approaches to keep users interested and coming back to the tools. Fourth, we learned that it's important to combine digital tools with in-person support in order to promote uptake and also the impact of these approaches. Fifth, partnerships. It's important to understand that partnerships can help reduce costs, but also bring together technical expertise, avoid duplication, and also increase efforts to go to scale. Next, of course, it's important to adapt the tools to each cultural and linguistic context, and we learned a lot about how different tool developers are doing this around the world. And finally, the sustainability of tools is something that's very challenging given the ongoing costs for maintaining and updating these tools. And so it's really important to design with sustainability in mind. So in the interest of time, I'm only going to focus on 3 of the findings, and I encourage you to check out the report to learn about the other ones. So designing for and with end users. So we know that parents come to these tools with different backgrounds and understandings of child development. So it's really important for these tools to use the parents or the workers, whoever is their main target user, as the starting point for their tool design. And that might mean co-designing these tools with parents and workers, and also collecting regular feedback from the users to make sure that the content is relevant and accessible to their needs. So one great example of this is Thrive by 5, which has been rolled out in 9 countries around the world. And this app supports children, parents with children from 0 to 5. And as part of the process, before they even launched the app, the Brain and Mind Center, with support from the Minderoo Foundation, they co-design the program in each of the countries. So they work with in-country partners, they localize, they translate, and they do all sorts of anthropological research, informative research to make sure that they are incorporating the viewpoints and understandings and priorities of parents and caregivers and child development experts in the content area. And that includes making sure that all of the images and the language that's used are adapted to the country context. Next. As I mentioned, it's important to maintain parent interest. Parents are just inundated with messages and different opportunities to engage in different tools and technologies. So we learned, the importance of keeping users engaged, because we also see that there's a high drop-off rate with these tools. So they might be initially engaged and then they lose interest or go on to something else, or they get busy or they're doing other things. So we found that tool developers use a wide range of strategies, but it requires really intentionality and multiple approaches to make sure that users keep coming back. So some of the strategies we've learned about include customization of content, as I mentioned, using nudges and reminders, tracking user progress so they can see how they're doing in the different programs, and also giving opportunities to share information across networks. So one example of this is Sesamo, which is a chat box used across Latin America. It gives caregivers and teachers a range of learning activities that they can use through an automated WhatsApp, through the WhatsApp tool. So this app targets different, this chatbot targets different groups, including migrant and displaced families from Venezuela. So it needs to be something that's very accessible and easy to use, and also keeps users engaged over time. So what the chatbot does is it sends different messages and push notifications. There are a lot of interactive quizzes that keep people interested. And then there are also some rewards like stickers and prizes to encourage and motivate ongoing interaction. Next. There's also some emerging evidence that it's helpful to bring together digital and in-person interactions where possible as a strategy to encourage retention, but also the impact of parenting programs. So this might mean adding a digital element to an existing in-person program or incorporating in-person interaction into a digital tool. But we've also learned that it's not always necessary to have, face-to-face interaction, but it can also be through Facebook or WhatsApp. Just sort of having some human engagement can be very helpful. So an example of this is SMS for Dads in Australia, which is a text message-based tool. They use short messages 3 days a week, and it follows the progression from pregnancy through the early weeks and months of the child's development. And the tone of the messages are in the voice of the baby. So it's another way to keep fathers engaged. But what's interesting about this tool is that it has what they call a mood checker, which asks fathers to see how they're doing and how they're coping with fatherhood and just in general. And so if a father isn't doing well, it sort of flags in the system, and then a health professional can reach out and provide additional support. So that's a way of combining a digital tool with some more human interaction and support in response to fathers' needs. Next, sustainability, as I mentioned, is a challenge. We see lots of tools that are no longer in existence because they've run out of funding or they didn't plan for sustainability from the beginning. So it's really important to plan and budget for ongoing maintenance and costs that might come up over time, including upgrades, new features that need to be added, as well as new child development content that emerges over time. So there are a lot of hidden costs that we heard about, and to help address some of these costs, it's important not only to think about sustainability from the start, but also to explore partnerships, including with government, maybe with telecommunications companies and others, to help reduce or share the costs of iteration over time. So an example that we profile is Jamii ni Afya in Zanzibar, where community health workers are doing home visits as part of a parenting program. And there's an app that supports both the community health workers as well as the supervisors. This is an approach that's been rolled out in partnership amongst the Ministry of Health, DTRI, and MEDIC. So it brings together public-private partnership, and it's helped scale the tool across 11 districts in Zanzibar. So one of the key features, however, is that the government has committed to taking over full financial and programmatic ownership over the next 4 years. So that's going to help gradually build sustainability and institutionalize it within the government system. Okay, now stepping back, what does this all mean for different stakeholders who are interested in supporting and strengthening access and impact of digital tools? So we've tailored recommendations to a few target audiences. First, for tool developers and program managers, there are many of you out there, and so it's really a great opportunity to build partnerships with each other, as well as with universities, funders, and government to share costs. And to both extend reach, but also avoid duplication. We also learned the importance of regular data collection to inform learning and improvements within the tool, but also across tools. Next, governments can extend the reach of their parenting programs by partnering with tools, leveraging their existing communication channels, and also integrating, where possible, the tools into their programs where they already have outreach in place, where they're already reaching different target groups. So we think this is a very promising approach. For funders, based on our research, it's really important to have long-term flexible funding. As I mentioned, these tools need to go through a lot of experimentation, formative research, and then once they're rolled out, updates and iterations over time. Funders can also bring together and support collaborative learning across public, private actors, civil society, to encourage sharing of ideas, reducing duplication, and encouraging innovation. And finally, for researchers, we noticed there are a number of research gaps, particularly in low and middle income countries. So some of the gaps that we identified, including the market size for tools, how frequently and the dosage that's important for impact of these tools, the extent to which aspects are integrated into the tools, user engagement strategies, and funding and financing for sustainability. It was also interesting that we found more tools that support parents than we did for early childhood personnel. So it's great that we're going to hear about an approach that does support workers later in this panel. So this was just a preview of what we've learned. So we really hope that you enjoy exploring the synthesis report, all the case studies, and the tool database. And we look forward to your questions and feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And we're going to move straight away with the panelists, with our panel of developers. Because of interest of time, we're going to go straight to Queen Rania Foundation and Farah Akil, Monitoring and Evaluation Specialist, who's going to share more on monitoring and evaluation practices on their parenting education program. Farah, to you.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. So before I begin, let me just share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll be presenting the case of the parental engagement, education program, and I'll be providing an overview of the M&E framework. I won't be talking a lot about the tools, but I will be talking about how the type of data we've collected and how we've utilized this data for the program, for the benefit of the program. So just to give you a little background of what the PEP is. So PEP has gone through multiple iterations. So it started in 2013, and it was very interactive, whereby we collaborated with educators from the Ministry of Development, and they used to be trained on content and provide mothers with a full-on training on how to support the behavior of and the development of their 0 to 5 children. And then we sort of started scaling the program, we moved slowly towards a chatbot, which was more automated in nature, and it was targeting a variety of mothers. So formerly it was very focused on mothers from different governorates with low economic backgrounds, social economic backgrounds. Now it is more open, and this is all done through our comms department and through social media, whereby they send just notifications and ads to mothers, and they encourage them to access it. And we work through our partner eFlow, which simply manage the entire platform, and they provide us with data. Mainly, they are the main source of our data. So having said that, I have split it into monitoring and evaluation because we collect different type of data for each. The M&E scope or framework is simply based on the lock frame, which aimed, let me go back here because the aim is there. It's aimed at promoting a parental behavior that supports the development of children from 0 to 5. So in order for us to do that, we developed a theory of change that assumed that if mothers are more aware of how to practice development activities with their children, if they have the confidence, if they've got the time, and if they possess resources, then they will likely engage more with children. They will speak to them more. They will, simply do the practices that support their development. So that frameworks, every single data collection tool or data collection activity stemmed from that framework to make sure that we are effective in reaching our high level objective and that we are progressing towards it. So for monitoring, it starts off with registration. So the ad comes out from comms department, and people who have access to, let's say, platforms and they have internet, then they are likely to check it out. If they're interested, they register. And once they register, we collect type of, let's say, demographic data just to make sure that we are targeting mothers who are in need and mothers who don't usually have access to programs, and to mothers with low social economic backgrounds. Once they register and they move forward in the program, we start monitoring their completion and attendance rates, because it has moved to an automated chatbot. We don't have that human interaction. So the chatbot actually, and I'm going to loop back to what Michelle was saying, it pushes notification to mothers: you have completed this course but not that course. It sends reminders. There are also quizzes and stickers to encourage participation and for them to complete the course. So this kind of data is sort of received from the chatbot itself, from the platform, and is monitored on regular basis through a dashboard, an interactive dashboard that is shared with the technical team. We differentiate between attendance and completion. So attendance, I might be selecting, bits and pieces from a session, but not complete it entirely. So we would like to understand who mothers actually go through the entire session, and which sessions are the ones that are more likely to be completed, and which sessions are, sort of just being overlooked, because we want to understand the interests and the needs of mothers and what they're actually trying to get out of the program. Registration is linked to the demographic information, so I'll skip that one. So this is the type of quantitative data that we collect, and it is done through either the platform or a digitized survey through an ODK supported platform, whereby we collect the data and we just report on it through a dashboard. As for the evaluation, as I mentioned earlier, we've conducted multiple evaluation, performance evaluation evaluations for the program, and it mainly focused on the value for money. It focused on if we are achieving the intended results, and we gathered information to see if the causal pathways of our theory of change hold true or not. So because we truly believed that the prerequisite to change in behavior is awareness and increase in awareness, we wanted to see if mothers actually prove this improvement in awareness. And we wanted to see if there is a link between, okay, I'm aware that I should speak to my child on regular basis and read stories because it supports their development, but how confident I am to do that, and at the same time, do I believe that I have the ability to do that, which is the self-efficacy and confidence. So we had these indirect results under the M&E framework that we thought have direct impact on the main objective, which is change in behavior. And then we also wanted to tap into the spillover effect, which is because the program targets mothers, we wanted to see whether the mother tells her husband, for example, or speaks to her mother about how to engage with her child. We wanted to see if, for example, she's having other mothers for coffee in the morning and they talk about what they learned in the program. So we also tapped into those kind of areas to see if there is an impact around that. So in a nutshell, I think we collect a humongous amount of data, but the beautiful thing about this is that we've utilized data through different iterations. So as we moved from one iteration to another, we always have a pause and reflect session. And in that pause and reflect session, we talk about what is doable, what is feasible, what can we integrate from the findings and the data that we have, and what can be sort of dropped out. So in this slide, I will be sharing some examples. Hopefully I'll have time to go through all of them. But as I kept talking about the prerequisite of knowledge to or awareness to behavior, we've discovered that people can change behavior even though that they're not aware. So maybe if they, they can do it even if they don't know the importance of it. So we amended our theory of change, and it changed the higher level objective to be more focused on behavior without the prerequisite of having this awareness element. Not that it's not important, it is important, and the content still focused on that, but we don't, even if they don't understand the importance of what they're doing, it doesn't mean that they will not actually be practicing with their children. And then the second example is the human interaction. So as we moved towards an automated chatbot, and this human interaction decreased slowly and slowly. So and the mothers were really frustrated because as the human interaction sort of deteriorates, the tailored contextual support also diminishes, right? So this is why we integrated videos where a technical person, welcomed mothers on the chatbot. She talks about her experiences. We also held live sessions on a Facebook group where mothers get together and they learn about, for example, how to deal with stubborn children, or for a child who has, who's angry most of the time, what do I do? So we started complementing the chatbot with resources that sort of, provide that human element and interaction. And then the targeting, again, as a program that is now reaching a scalable program, you would get a huge number of registrants, and that huge number of registrants, they might be from low economic backgrounds, they might be from really high economic backgrounds, they might be educated, not educated. So it was really hard to target mothers who are more vulnerable and who are more in need of these programs. So we've set a targeting criteria, and we're starting to push our social media efforts towards these people. Not that we didn't allow for others to also join, but we prioritize the ones that are most in need and don't have access usually. And then if we have more room, then everyone can register. So these are just some of the things that we amended, and they're simple, but they make a huge difference as you move forward with the program. And then I've already talked about the incentives and how we've integrated quizzes and stickers, and also the certificates. We give them a nicely polished certificate that shows that she has completed the program, something to brag about. So it's the little things that sort of drive them. And then right, so one of the the last point is related to moving to a self-paced. Now we're at a stage where instead of having a structured program, so for example, today is the first session, tomorrow is the second, and for a 2-month period of time, we have allowed mothers to, register and take the program at their own pace. So if it takes me 1 week, if it takes another mother 1 month, if it takes her 2 months, it's up to her, because we wanted to allow mothers to take the program or sessions in a way that is convenient to them, and as they are free. And we wanted to see if there's enough incentives for mothers to move forward with the program without having a deadline that the program shuts by 2 months. Are you going to finish it or not? Results there are not very promising, but this is in a nutshell what we have tried to utilize our data and sort of integrate it into future designs and iterations. And that is it from my end.
Thank you, Farah, for that presentation. And let's move ahead also then with Dr. Nokolo Gada from Mom Connect, from Reach Digital Health. Please go ahead and start so that we have time also to, at the end, interaction with the audience. Thank you. And Jane Sabiti, also from the government of South Africa, from the Department of Health, will also be talking about partnerships around Mom Connect. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. So I'm Nicolo. I'm from Reach Digital Health. We are one of the technical partners on Mom Connect, which is South Africa's largest mobile health tool, which is focused on maternal health and child health. With me, I also have Sister Jane Sabiti, who's part of the National Department of Health, the Mom Connect manager. I'll be presenting, but she'll be around for the Q&A. I do have a bit of an overview of the platform, but I really want to spend my precious 5 minutes chatting about how, as technical partners, we've been able to collaborate successfully with the Department of Health. But just a quick overview of the tool. The problem that it seeks to solve is addressing capacity. We know maternal deaths are almost 50 times higher in areas such as sub-Saharan Africa. Yet we know that there is a significant disparity of healthcare workers in this region, with only 3% of the world's healthcare workers being based in sub-Saharan Africa. And so the problem that Mom Connect seems to solve is empowering the mom and also empowering the healthcare workers and the health system by task shifting and enabling capacity. And so this chatbot, which is based on WhatsApp and also USSD for low tech, low connectivity, and low data usage users, enables searchable FAQs. There's a help desk, which I'll speak about later. But ultimately, what it is stage-based messaging. So along the pregnancy pathway, and often it's based on weeks, we will send the mother a reminder about her clinic visit, and with it there is information that supports her along preparing for the journey. Attached to it is also some partner messaging, but that gets into the detail. So this is really what the interface will look like and what it offers. It has evolved over time. It's now almost 10 years old. When it initially started, it was SMS based, not a lot of rich media. And today we've evolved into including rich media like diagrams, and really having emoticons, which increase user engagements. And this is what it looks like today. It was very interesting what Michelle said earlier about how it's so important to integrate with real users, and the speaker prior to me also mentioned it. And Mom Connect has done this with the help of the Department of Health. It is all the chatbot, but there is, and there's a lot of automated FAQs, but there's real help that moms can get to. And the NDOH drives this completely. So there is a manned help desk that has clinical support. And it's important that the NDOH was part of this, because it makes sure that when we're giving help, it's appropriate level of care. And also make sure we lean on each other's strengths. The tech team was able to make sure the user engagement is high and the content is great and it's a good interface. But the NDOH really ensures that the correct clinical messaging is being provided, and also that we are able to really prioritize what's urgent and what needs response very quickly that may not be appreciated by chatbots. And this collaboration really has been critical to the success of the platform to date. Additional to that has been how the NGOH has been able to use direct information from moms. So what we have alongside health information is quality of service feedback. And so, one of the metrics that we still report on to the Department of Health would be when mothers go to their antenatal clinics, we'd ask how the experience was. And we generally have a litmus test regarding compliments and complaints. This is at a provincial level and a national level. We're able to support the Department of Health with stats from our chatbots that tells the Ministry of Health how mothers are perceiving the quality of care. And this enables informed decision-making, which is really critical. But ultimately, it's the partnership, if I could stress this anymore, with the NGOH that has enabled us to scale. And we're really excited that we've been able to scale so rapidly, being the largest digital tool in the country. We have over 4 million all-time users. At any given time, we're over 440,000 users, which really is incredible for sub-Saharan Africa, considering our statistics. We've moved from SMS to WhatsApp, which has 10 times increased the engagement rates. And it's also made sure that we reduce the burden on the help desk because we're able to do more searchable FAQs and information. But what I really want to share, just going back to linking to direct services, is how when mothers are engaged with chatbots, they are able to self-register, but they're also supported in the registration journey with actual healthcare workers. So it is part of the Department of Health's SOPs to ensure that a clinic sister will help a mother sign on at her first antenatal visit. And because of that, we have 95% of clinics who register moms on Mom Connect. And of women who are giving birth in the public sector, 60% of them are on Mom Connect. And so the partnership has enabled rapid scale, which means rapid impact. But not only do we focus on activity metrics, I think it's important we also focus on impact. And there are 3 core pillars that the technical partners such as REACH, as well as the NGOH, focus on. And I'll speak very high level to them. I'm mindful of time. But if I could leave you with the 3 things that we really prioritize, would be discussing and partnering on economies of scale. So we work quite closely to ensure, like I mentioned, that the operating procedures include the chatbot. But also we're constantly training healthcare workers about feature updates, that they're not just updates into a server, but healthcare workers are aware because they are the power of word of mouth is so impactful and really does support sustainability because we have the benefits of scale. And as mentioned earlier, that we keep discussions with partners such as telecommunication partners and the NGOH to support with that process to ensure that there's financial sustainability as well. We also ensure that we're constantly discussing impact to ensure our metrics being measured are aligned with the Department of Health's reporting metrics. And lastly, governance, frequent engagement. We have frequent steercom meetings. And in those meetings, we include all the partners, technical partners, funding partners and donors, as well as the Department of Health. There have been other opportunistic moments that I must sneak in that have really displayed quite beautifully the benefit of collaboration. And it has been moments of crisis coming out of the pandemic. Because we had access to so many mothers, we were able to distribute information very quickly. The NGOH needed to, as the whole world needed to do, was to share well-resourced, clinically relevant information through a trusted platform. And so Mom Connect was able to distribute information quite quickly. And even if there is an outbreak, most recently in South Africa, we had a measles outbreak earlier this year, and we're able within 24 hours to have an immediate response and inform mothers of care. What is quite interesting is that we also get information back from the mothers. So for example, we had an iron supplement shortage. And because we're asking mothers about the experience, they noted this, it came through the Mom Connect dashboard, and we're able to notify very senior officials of the shortage and really adjust supply chain crisis, which is really a beautiful impact story both ways. So I leave you with that. I think we're really excited about what we've achieved and how the Department of Health has contributed, and I look forward to any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicolo. And I think it was fascinating to see the journey of Mom Connect and the partnership so far. And the growth is super impressive and an example from all of us. And we're moving to our next and final panelist, but not least, Jopi from Brazil. We're gonna learn now on user engagement strategies, and actually one of the tools that target frontline workers and teachers. We're gonna hear from Ana Amelia Prevata and Leila Sata. So please go ahead and share with us this super exciting tool as well.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone, for inviting us to share our experience on Jopi. So Jopi, it's a digital tool to train early childhood workforce, and it was developed for Criança Feliz program. Just to have a quick overview, Criança Feliz is the largest home visiting program worldwide. The green areas are the cities that are in the program here. Criança Feliz is focused on low-income families, children 0 to 3 years, pregnant, and children with disabilities up to 6. We designed and delivered 2 editions of Jopi. The first one was in 21, and our target audience were home visitors. Before we designed this digital training, we had the opportunity to work with them and understand their barriers. We understood in order to be effective, we had to meet them where they were. So we chose WhatsApp because it's the most popular communication app in Brazil, and it was just one-step inscription. Jopi 1 provides bite-sized content on demand in multiple learning styles. We partnered with an evaluation team from Getúlio Vargas, a business school, and we had some valuable information to take from Jopi 1. The first one is the need of reliable resources they can use. And another issue, because of the high turnover of visitors, our strategy was to strengthen the capabilities of the supervisor who manage a team of 4 to 15 visitors. We just finished the second edition, and we are in the moment of analyzing the data. As I said, the target audience were the supervisors. But what is the difference besides that on Jopi 2? Besides the content, we provide resources to support the supervisors planning and training their teams. So they can easily incorporate into their routines, such as design thinking tools, leadership skills, meeting plans, intersectoral collaboration. Also, we thought how the content would reach in a friendly way the visitors and the families. The strategy was to add a feature to one-step sharing, that is, download and share through WhatsApp, Facebook, email. Here's the last step, our tracks. In Jopi 2, we changed to a nano learning platform, which is a website that then can be accessed through cell phone or computer. As you can see here, the navigation, it's like social media, one message at a time, and self-paced training. We kept several learning styles, such as podcasts, short videos, cards, quizzes, and practical guides. For example, outdoor activities to reduce time to screen, or pregnant exercises. As part of our culture, we use audio novels, the storytelling, centered the supervisor as main character in real-life situations. The results so far indicate that users enjoy this methodology, maximizing learning engagement, promoting a better understanding of the material, and boost information retention. As part of our engagement strategies, as you can see here in the dashboard, through the learning management system, we tracked on a regular basis the user's behavior. New users per day, completion rate, training progression, state participation. Beside all these informations, based on these informations, we're able to act fast and pivot if you need it. Here's our dashboard. We worked closely with the state coordinators, as we know they are key in the engagement process. Another strategy was to have a communication channel with human help desk, answering the questions very quickly to reduce friction. We took actions in a weekly basis by WhatsApp, emails, and media posts. Here are our team, and thank you all.
Thank you, Ana Amelia. We are 1 minute on the hour. For those people who want to stay 10 minutes more, we're going to address like 2 questions from the audience. If the panelists all need to go, feel free to go. But if one of you or 2 of you could stay, that would be great. There is a big question that I think actually our 3 great examples can address, because you all actually share a lot about user engagement, how to use monitoring and evaluation, and how you use partnerships to expand, to enrich content, and to actually improve your own user engagement strategies, and let's say iterate continually on your own learning journey. But there is one question that everyone like kind of kept repeating, is like, what do we do with rural communities that have low connectivity or limited connectivity? How do we reach them? There are examples in the report that address this issue, but I would love to hear from some of you. So maybe Nicolo and Ana Amelia, would you like to address this one? Or Farah, do you like to address this one? What do we do with users in rural or faraway areas that may benefit also from the content of these tools?
I don't know. One thing in Jopi too, it's very important to say, is that not an app. So it's a website. So because we have here in Brazil, we have almost everyone has a cell phone, but it's not enough to have an app, because how can I say louder? Because the
type of technology or the data,
yes,
may not enable easy access for a full app or something like that, and that
Yeah, so it's a website, and our target here was the supervisor. We know that he used or she used the internet under their job. So we know that he's going to have the access in your work station.
Thank you. Thank you, Ana Amelia. What about Mom Connect?
Yeah, I think it is a constant trade-off that we're trying to navigate. I think with Mom Connect, our goal as a technical partner is always to provide low tech, and that has primarily been why we've chosen to stay away from apps and use WhatsApp, which, if you look at penetration stats in sub-Saharan Africa, almost, I think it's in 2025, almost 70% of people will have a smartphone. So that is increasing. The biggest challenge, I think, greater than connectivity and access to the mobile device is probably data costs. That is a current challenge we're facing. And so we are using SMS. That's going to be via USSD, which is then reversed billed. So it's completely zero costs to the end user, unlike WhatsApp, which has a data cost, albeit low. That's how we're navigating costs, which does affect sustainability. But in parallel to that, the onboarding of the mother is still human-centered. So we still have the nurse who facilitates that onboarding, which means for users who don't have connectivity, they still have some access and knowledge about the information. And often there's a partner who's attached who might be able to support in some way. So we really do try to build a community alongside the one-on-one digital interaction.
Thank you, Nicolo. Farah, do you want to share how you're tackling this in Jordan? Low connectivity.
Yes, I would agree that it is a trade-off. However, the approach that we've taken is more costly. So we do physical field outreach. So we go to the field and we conducted sessions and invited mothers to be physically there. And then as they come, we would sort of also orient them on how to register and gave an orientation on that, but that turned out to be very costly. So I guess we just moved forward with, just not doing that.
Thank you all. I see some people already have to be jumping on the call from out of the call, and I don't want to disrupt too much the time of everyone that were so nice to stay a little bit over the time. So I'm going to close by, there is actually more on these issues and trade-offs in the report and what other tools are also using to tackle these issues. So we want to invite you guys, like everyone present, to go into the digital space in the interactive website. There's access to the report again, the database and the case studies, and you're going to see the specific concrete examples of what other tools are also doing and more detail actually on the ones we have here today with us. This is an open knowledge, a free public knowledge tool that we want to share with everyone. And with this, I want to thank all our panelists today, Results for Development for conducted that great research, Mom Connect, Queen Rania Foundation, and Descubrir Brincando. Thank you for sharing your experience. I think everyone was hooked up until now. So it definitely, there's more appetite on this to come, and we'll hope from the Bernard and Leer Foundation, we're going to keep supporting these spaces to keep learning how technology can enable and support parents and the ICT workforce in promoting early childhood development. Thank you, everyone. With this, we call it a wrap, and have a great rest of the day or night for those connect information. Bye-bye.